Sheikh Ahmad Gumi has once again become the center of attention. He is a Kaduna-based Islamic scholar, a former military officer, and a man who has often stepped into very sensitive areas to speak about security in Nigeria. You all know him as someone who talks about negotiation and dialogue rather than pure military action when it comes to armed groups and insecurity in the country. Some people respect him for trying to bring peace, while others have criticized him, saying that engaging with these groups is too risky. But Gumi has always stood by his belief that talking and understanding can save lives and communities. Now, here's what is fresh. Recently, Gumi addressed a lot of rumors surrounding him, especially after the federal government made what many are calling a big reveal. This has created a lot of chatter online and in media circles. What Gumi did was confront these rumors head-on. He spoke openly, clarifying his position. He emphasized that his engagement with certain armed groups does not mean he supports their actions. Instead, he insists his role is that of a peacemaker, a bridge between communities, the government, and those causing unrest. During his recent statements, he went further, making claims that have caught everyone's attention. He suggested that some of the insecurity and terrorism issues in Nigeria are not purely internal. He mentioned that foreign interests might be involved, that external powers may be providing resources, intelligence, or support to armed groups. This is a big claim, and it raises serious questions. If true, it changes how we think about security challenges in Nigeria. The conversation is no longer just about local crime or banditry. It becomes an issue that might involve global networks and international agendas. And here's what Gumi made very clear. He is not advocating for criminals or terrorists. His goal, he says, is peace. He wants to create avenues for surrender, dialogue, and reintegration for those willing to abandon violence. He says that violence alone has never solved these problems, and without addressing the root causes, poverty, marginalization, and lack of opportunities, the cycle will continue. Now, let's talk about the reactions, because this is where it gets interesting. On one hand, some people support Gumi. They see him as a voice of reason, someone willing to step into dangerous spaces to try and save lives. On the other hand, critics have spoken strongly. They warn that negotiating or even talking with criminals can send the wrong signal. It can appear as if violence is being rewarded, and that's dangerous. People have called on the government to ensure that justice is not compromised while pursuing dialogue. For viewers at home, think about this. If what Gumi is saying about foreign interference is accurate, then it's not just a matter of chasing criminals anymore. It's about understanding the bigger picture networks, financing, and possibly corruption that allow these issues to continue. This means Nigeria must strengthen intelligence, security cooperation, and strategic planning. It also means citizens need to be aware, informed, and actively involved in national conversations. Gumi also addressed personal attacks. He made it very clear that being labeled as someone sympathetic to criminals is not true. He repeatedly stressed that his intention is peace and that he believes dialogue is not weakness. He wants to show that there is an alternative path, a path where lives can be saved, communities can recover, and the government can achieve sustainable security. Now, let's break this down for everyone. First, there is the question of strategy. Many experts have said that relying on military force alone will not solve Nigeria's security problems. That's why Gumi's approach, controversial as it may be, attracts attention. It introduces the idea that negotiation, intelligence, and understanding can be combined with traditional security efforts to achieve results. But this must be carefully monitored. Transparency and accountability are key. There is no room for impunity. Second, the federal government's big reveal suggests that they have been paying close attention to Gumi's activities and the wider security situation. This is an important step because it shows that dialogue between the government and civil society figures is ongoing. The government needs to strike a balance, listening to voices like Gumi's while ensuring that the rule of law is maintained. For viewers, think about the communities affected. Thousands of families have been displaced, livelihoods destroyed, and trust in security institutions weakened. Every action, statement, or negotiation matters because it can directly affect people's lives. Gumi often emphasizes this, that humanity and understanding must be at the center of any security strategy. Also, it's important to note that this is not just about Gumi. It's about the broader question of how Nigeria handles insecurity. Whether it's banditry, kidnappings, or terrorism, solutions need multiple layers. Military action, community engagement, rehabilitation programs, and international cooperation must all work together. Gumi's statements, whether you agree with them or not, remind everyone that there are no simple answers. Now, I need you to do something while listening. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you support negotiation or do you think military action alone is enough? Your opinion matters, and this is the space to discuss it respectfully. Back to the story. Gumi also warned against simplifying the problem. He explained that calling these armed groups just criminals ignores the social and economic factors that drive young men into violence. Lack of education, unemployment, marginalization, and sometimes coercion make them vulnerable. Understanding this is not about excusing the crime, it's about crafting solutions that last. Another key point he raised is the importance of trust. He said that for dialogue to work, there has to be trust between all parties, government, community leaders, and the people affected. Without trust, negotiations fail, and cycles of violence continue. That's why his approach, though controversial, resonates with some, because it puts emphasis on human relationships and understanding. Critics, however, remain vocal. They argue that engaging criminals publicly can embolden them. They question whether it is even safe for the government to allow such interactions. But here is where viewers need to understand nuance. Gumi is advocating for controlled engagement with the right oversight. He is not calling for unchecked access or immunity for criminal acts. Now, let's pause for a moment. Think about the big picture. If there is foreign interference, as Gumi claims, this has implications beyond just national security. It affects diplomacy, international relations, and even economic policy. It means Nigeria must be strategic in how it handles information, intelligence sharing, and negotiations. Every decision has a ripple effect. Before we go further, I want to remind you again, like this video, subscribe, and comment below. Every interaction helps spread the discussion and keeps us all informed. Gumi's recent statements also highlight the tension between law enforcement and civil negotiation. He believes that both must coexist. Security forces must continue their work, but dialogue should be an additional tool, not a replacement. This is a delicate balance, and one that many experts have said is necessary for long-term peace. For viewers, it is important to remember this. Gumi is challenging assumptions. He's saying that solutions cannot be one-dimensional. Talking about dialogue, understanding root causes, and investigating external influences are all part of a bigger strategy that the country needs to consider. Ignoring these perspectives may only prolong insecurity. As this story develops, it is clear that the public, government, and media all have a role. How we report, how we discuss, and how we act can influence outcomes. Sensationalism can cause panic, but responsible coverage can build awareness, promote understanding, and support effective solutions. Finally, let's not forget the human element. Families affected by violence are looking for answers, security, and hope. Every discussion, including what Gumi is saying, ultimately affects lives. The question we must all consider is, how can Nigeria move from crisis to lasting peace? What steps are realistic and which ones are sustainable? And before I stop for now, I want to remind you one last time, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with friends and family. We need everyone in the conversation. Every opinion counts, and your voice matters in shaping the discussion on peace and security.